Brethren and companions, today we were due to have held our annual provincial meetings for both the Craft and the Royal Arch, but sadly we've had to postpone them as a result of COVID-19. This pandemic has, of course, given the province, and indeed the whole of Freemasonry, the opportunity to engage with our local communities, providing assistance to those in need of our support. But first, I want to give my congratulations to those brethren and companions who were to have been formally invested today with their provincial grand rank, active appointment or promotion. This is a marvellous achievement and one which I did not want to see go by without some form of public recognition and acknowledgement. It is due reward for all that you've done, and whilst today is inevitably different, I hope it may still be a memorable one for each of you. I hope it will encourage you to do more for your lodge or your chapter. In the charge we all received at our initiation, we were urged to make ourselves respectable in life, useful to mankind, and an ornament to the society we had just joined. Brethren and companions, in these difficult times, what better motivation do you need? All the provincial appointments take effect from today. The two new provincial executive teams face a challenging time ahead. Who knows when we can return to some form of normality? But when we do, and we most certainly will, brethren, I know it will for them be a fulfilling and enjoyable one. To the retiring wardens, Worshipful Brothers Danny Ellis and John McCormick, the second provincial Grand Principal, excellent companion David Blair, and the other retiring officers, thank you so much for your service in the last year, particularly representing or supporting me at lodge installations or chapter convocations. Brethren, we took so much of our Freemasonry for granted before it was suspended, and I know that in recent weeks it's been hard for many of us. We are finding new ways of keeping the spirit alive, communicating and engaging together, so that when we do resume, we shall thrive again. A prospect, I fear, sadly, may not be true for many businesses, especially on our high streets and in the hospitality trades. On the charitable front, Freemasonry always excels. It is in some ways the lifeblood coursing through all our veins. MCF has already allocated £1 million for COVID-19 causes, and it's raising a further £2 million. From this, Cambridgeshire has received 2 awards for a hospital scrubs initiative and also for syringe drivers for the Arthur Rank Hospice. Additionally, we've also obtained match funding for MAGPAS and the East Anglian Air Ambulance, as well as a small grant for council educational support packages for poor or deprived children who have limited educational facilities now the schools are closed. Some of this has been or will be reported in the press and media, and we continue to actively engage with them. But I firmly believe that our first priority is doing the right thing. This is what gets recognised best in the long run. Mike Hinton, who assumed the role of communications officer, has had a challenging end to his first year, as the executive uses all the media options, including Zoom, our provincial website, the press, and the Second Rising. UGLE has just issued its inaugural First Rising, tempting me to suggest that where Cambridgeshire leads, others may follow. I'm so grateful to Mike and his team. Leveraging social media can be so rewarding, whilst being an important way of engaging with the younger members of society. And in this regard, I must mention the Light Blues Club, under the leadership of Ed Williams. They've stepped up so well to assist in many ways in the last few months since the lockdown. We now have membership officers in almost all our lodges. They have a hugely important and responsible role at the moment. Brethren, we can't be complacent. It's at times like these when people reevaluate their personal budgets and priorities. retaining contact with all our members and then encouraging them to return when we resume is so important. Ian Hardman, the Provincial Membership Officer, and the Provincial Mentor, John West, are bringing enthusiasm, new ideas and method, but they will need all of our support when we return, especially as we re-engage with candidates and encourage others to join. Which ceremonies we can practice and when is for the future, but ensuring those ceremonies remain attractive, enjoyable, and importantly with sensible meeting timings and length, that will remain one of our biggest challenges if we're to encourage brethren old and new alike. It is at times like this when we both value and miss our brethren and friends. I have not as yet suggested a regular 9 o'clock toast, but perhaps it might be appropriate for us all to raise a glass to remember old friends and absent brethren at 9 p.m. this evening. Brethren, I shall be doing it. Will you join me? When we resume, we have an exciting programme ahead of us. Candidates to initiate, pass, raise or exalt. Masters and principals to install. Stories on lockdown to tell. A festival target to meet. Possibly a carol service at Ely Cathedral. And 3 new lodges to consecrate. I shall say little more on these other than to leave that tempting prospect with you. Excellent companions David Blair and Paul Gillingwater deserve our hearty congratulations on their first appointments to grand rank in Supreme Grand Chapter, whilst Worshipful Brothers Malcolm Basing and Kevin Mader saw similar recognition in the craft. Sadly, both installation meetings were postponed, but their recognition reflects highly on our province, as do the other promotions and reappointments in Grand Lodge and Supreme Grand Chapter. It's particularly fitting that Kevin Mader was recognised, as he has done an amazing amount for the province in the last 2 years as Provincial Grand Secretary, but none more so than in the last few weeks since lockdown. The amount of work we've had to handle has been immense, perhaps 5 times more than normal, and he has willingly and cheerfully borne the brunt of it, as has excellent companion Edward Brooks in rising to a similar challenge in the Royal Arch. My sincere thanks to both of them, as well as to my 2 deputies, our provincial treasurers, almoners and charity stewards, and indeed the rest of the executive team. They are all the unsung heroes in these trying times, ensuring we have a successful province and making my job that little bit easier. I know there are so many other contributions to acknowledge as we navigate these difficult waters. And whilst I cannot name everyone, the fantastic amount of effort and dedication you put into making this province so successful and supporting me is much appreciated. Thank you so much. Freemasonry, and particularly Freemasonry in Cambridgeshire, still has a very promising future, but it will need everyone to contribute when we resume. Whether this is by bringing in new friends, re-engaging with older ones, working for good causes in our local areas, or just simply making sure we enjoy our ceremonies, ritual and festive boards. Learning from our experiences during the shutdown and building on the good things that have come out of this pandemic will be a critical and important aspect of our recovery process. Brethren, it's been a pleasure to address you today, and I really do hope it is not too long before I shall be meeting and greeting each and every one of you. In the meantime, keep well, look after yourselves, your families and your friends, and may the great architect be with you now and always.